Nick Wilson with Dan Brownlie after a 4-2 win at home to Poole. And Dan, how important was that to get back on track against a good team?
Yeah, it's a really good win, that one. You're right in terms of back on track. Obviously, you can kid yourself to thinking last week kind of does that, but we were expected to win against Kidlington, and you look back in the league form, and I think we've lost 3 on the bounce from there. So we've stopped the rot on 2 occasions now, which is good. But more importantly, it's against a really good side. You know, I think they were sitting 1 place below us, but they're 3rd in the form guide, and since Matt has come in, they've hit new heights and been performing really well. Like, you look at the list of some of the teams they've beaten, lots of Gosport and co. So it's a really well-earned, well-thought win, and I'm very pleased with the boys.
There's 10 goals in 15 games in all competitions now for Dan Rowe. What a signing he's been.
Do you know what? It's an interesting one, Dan, because we signed him on the basis that we thought he'd be the creative, and that he's been. You know, he's a spark of enthusiasm every time he touches the ball, and you can see that there's a level of excitement every time he gets near it. But my God, he's good in front of goal. Deceptively good in the air. Like, I think that's probably his 4th or 5th header at least. And obviously, you look at the free kick that he scored. He's a class above at times, Dan, it's understandable when you look at his history, but his ability to think his way through a game, and we've got a common phrase at this club at the moment, which is play to win, which some clubs have taken a mick out of me for it because it sounds really obvious, but ultimately it's playing in the moment and doing what's effective, and Dan has that ability to marry up what is really pleasing on the eye and creative and drifting past players, but he's also got that doggedness to make sure that he's working the full-backs and working the centre half. So we're really pleased to have Dan, and his form is no longer considered form. He's just good, you know. Like, he's been a brilliant acquisition, and we love working with him.
And there's a big moment at the end for one of our own, Noah Chengun's first goal, and a really well taken goal as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, Noah, God believe his improvement over the course of the last year has been phenomenal, both on and off the pitch. I speak to Aaron quite regularly about his growth in terms of just he's grown up. You know, he's grown up, and I don't mean that condescendingly, but both on and off the pitch, there's a new manner about him. He's confident in his own ability. He knows what he's good at. And I think at that age it can be sometimes difficult to know what you're good at. I remember speaking about Michael Atkinson when he was here the first time, when he was considerably younger, and the joys of Michael Atkinson, in the same way as Lewis Hayden, was that they identified what they're really good at really early, and stamped their authority of games and kept it within their area. And Noah's one of them. He's strong, he's awkward, he's quick, and most of all, he's enthusiastic. There's things he's got to learn, don't get me wrong. I mean, we're all shouting at him to keep it in the corner, and he's doing pirouettes and trying to cross the ball in, but again, that enthusiasm you don't necessarily want to take out of his game. But we're really pleased with Noah. He's done brilliantly for Binfield, and there is a probability that he'll end up back there, because it's important he has a run of games. But my God, him from the bench today, he made a real difference. So yeah, another one off the line that we're really proud of.
It's a great afternoon, but it's hard to ignore the downside at the other end of the pitch. You must be quite frustrated by the manner of the 2 goals conceded. Yeah,
the first one, I mean, I'll be honest, I've gone in half-time saying what a wonderful finish it was by their forward. I didn't realise Callum was the one that put it in his own net. It's a good bit of play. I mean, there's a disappointing factor that Louise has found himself isolated, and I think in that moment Louise has said himself that, again, it's playing to win, and if you think you're going to lose it, sometimes be effective and play it higher. We lost the ball, and then in quick transition they had a good moment where I think Fogden's knocked the ball over the top. For the older viewers, it was a bit Cantona to Brian McClare with that famous goal. It's a lovely touch, but obviously it's us that's put the ball in the back of the net, which was a disappointment. And the second one, look, I mean, clear your lines. It's as simple as that. But I'll give the boys that you could find yourself being anxious, overplaying, overcomplicating the game, and even in those last 5 minutes where we were disappointed to concede that goal, they've switched on, they've defended well, we've played in the right areas, and we've got our rewards from it. You know, we've played the ball forward, and Noah's ended up scoring a really good goal. So it's a disappointing one to concede, but when you're up against a good side like Poole, you're probably not too disappointed to concede 2 goals, particularly when you're scoring 4 off the back of it. So yeah, things to work on as always, but I think for the large part we've defended well today.
And as a newly promoted team, how important is it to not let a rot set in when you lose 2 or 3 games in a row and keep those wins ticking over?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's important at any level. I think that there's a a heightened attention on it when you're a newly promoted side, because people are expecting you to have that bad patch, and that maybe that was it. Maybe those 3 games is a bad patch, but the difficulty I have with answering that question is that against every side you're not expected to win, and that's not us downplaying our level. I think most teams can claim that. I don't think even the likes of Chesham and Walton and whatever, that there's no issue with losing in this league, because it's a really tough league. What we need to do is make sure that we look after our own performances, and in moments that we're not performing well, find a way to win, and that's something we did relatively well last year, and it's a much more complicated task this year, but like I said, today we rode out a storm, and you can hear, what was nice was you can hear from the messaging within the group on the pitch about weathering that storm. So yeah, it's important to kind of stop the rot, I think is the famous phrase, and we've certainly done that, but you look at some of the games we've got coming up, and they're all great battles. Obviously got to go with Bracknell on Tuesday night, so yeah, it's a really good win against a very good side.
Thank you very much, Dan. Cheers.
Cheers.